The two travelers sat in the cockpit, with the stone walls of young bark still filling the window. The sun was setting, and shadows were creeping over the rocks. The fastest way to inform Outer Wilds what had happened was a radio call to ground control. They delivered the bad news to Hornfels, and tried their best to answer all the worried questions. The old scientists seemed to take it well, but they were probably trying to keep it together for the younger members. "I'll call and update you all when I know more. Oh, hold on." The signal went out for a moment while Hornfels was switching between two conversations. "All right, I've got Feldspar on the line. Before I put him through, I want to tell you something. I know it's bad, but I don't blame you for this. Here's Feldspar." The channel patched over. There was an ominous pause. Neither Chuck or Ponder knew what to say. "Hello? You there?" That was Feldspar, all right. Ponder spoke up. "It's me." Feldspar erupted. "What are you thinking? That's the one place I told you not to go, Ponder. I trusted you. Ship ain't nothing. I trusted you with my girl. Do you know what you done? Do you?" Ponder took it on the chin. "I didn't know. I'm sorry." Chuck intervened. "Dad, it's not their fault." They sighed heavily into the microphone. "Meet me back at the outpost." They flew home in silence. They could see Feldspar sitting on the porch as they touched down. As soon as they got down from the ship, the rugged mentor was right there. Feldspar squeezed Chuck tight. "Chardy, are you okay?" Chuck could only look up at him for a moment. "I think... No, I'm not." Feldspar and Ponder exchanged a wordless glance. The old pilot led them inside. Soon they were gathered around the desk in the corner. Feldspar manned the radio and hailed ground control. Ponder and Chuck sat behind him and mostly listened to the old vets rehash everything that had happened. It began to sink in for both of them. They might have just triggered the destruction of Timber Hearth. Everyone in the village was holding their breath. Some were already talking about going to Brittle Hollow, for a visit, of course. Others said they'd stay with their home, even if the planet cracked open. Everyone was asking, what will the Bramble seed do now? There were no real experts on the topic, but Hornfels had studied it the longest. They were direct in the response. "I had Marl's workers pull out. It's too dangerous to have our people there making noise when something could come through at any moment. They're keeping an eye on it from the rim of the crater. They've also put a scout close to the seed, so I can check on it remotely." They could all hear a snap, snap, as Hornfels triggered the camera. The scientists viewed the images, making sure disaster hadn't struck in the last few minutes. "The seed hasn't changed. It's not even putting out roots or vines that it normally does." "That's good. What's the bad news?" Feldspar said suspiciously. "The shadow." Ponder's curiosity forced him to intrude. "You mentioned the shadow before. What's that?" "It's hard to describe." Hornfels paused, no doubt to simplify their answer. "Dark Bramble exists in multiple dimensions, or maybe just one dimension all folded on top of itself. Gabbro says it's something between a black hole and a white hole. In a way, it exists in a much larger area than what you can see through a telescope. That all sounded like guesswork to me, until we got equipment that can take images of it. The shadow is real. It fluctuates in and out, but when we take the average, we can calculate its true size." Feldspar was impatient with the lesson. "So what happened with the shadow?" "The shadow's been growing slowly over time. That's what Feldspar's been helping me measure. In the last decade, it grew by about 2%. When the seed in Young Bark Crater activated, The shadow grew about 13%. Feldspar cursed on their breath. Is it still going? Looks like it's slowing down, but that's not the worst of it. They heard some shuffling of paper, as if Hornfels had to be holding the printout to believe it. In our last series of images, the shadow stretches outward in the direction of Timber Hearth. It wasn't doing that before. The connection between the seed and the bramble must be getting stronger. I don't know what will happen if the shadow reaches us. Whatever it's doing, we should stop it. That's right, Hornfels agreed. I don't know how to get rid of it, but it can't stay here. You sure we can't destroy it? Chop it up or burn it, Feldspar growled. I'm tempted to try, Hornfels acknowledged, but kept a reserved tone. But Gabbro warned me. They said that anything that breaks through the surface of the seed on this side might cause everything on the other side to spill out onto our dimension. I've learned not to doubt them. So what do we do? It sounded like their leader leaned back in their chair and took a sip of cocoa. They were still trying to decide what to say. We're working on some solutions over here, but I don't know which ideas will work out. I need you and your ship on standby, in case we need you. I'll stay close to the radio. Lunar outpost, over and out. Feldspar finished and stopped transmitting. They turned their chair around, making a close circle with the young'uns. Chuck met their gaze with her two real eyes. The painted eyes were still smeared. Her old man forced himself to start another uncomfortable conversation. They told me you got all big. Started biting at everybody and hollering. Chuck looked at the floor again. I never seen you acting like that. Not since you were small. What happened? I don't know. It just came over me. You were scared, Ponder reminded. They all surrounded her with axes and things and yelled at her. Chuck shook her head slowly. I wasn't scared of the tree keepers. They were scared of me. They don't understand you, Feldspar explained. Some of them never really accepted my decision. They shouldn't be that way. She wanted to let them comfort her, but she couldn't. I need to tell them. No, Dad. They're not being mean. They're scared of me because I'm dangerous. Dad wouldn't have it. You don't mean that. You wouldn't hurt anyone. I'm not so sure. Maybe I would. Maybe I'm bad. Who told you that? Feldspar said. It sounded like they were ready to slap the offender. The bramble, Chuck answered in a hush. It spoke to me, not with words. It wants to spread, to consume. I was scared because it made sense. I think it might be who I am. Her dad blinked, unable to take that in. What do you mean? How I was acting back there. What if that's what I'm really like? Maybe I really am a monster. What if this is all just an act? They shook their head. How can that be? I've been living with you a long time. You're a good girl. You're my girl. But what am I? She looked down at her hands and let her hands fall apart into individual tentacles. If the bramble is this entity of consumption and destruction and hate, and it made me, how can I be good? If I still belong to it somehow, and it tells me to be bad, then I'm just bad no matter what. Feldspar could only shrug. You're my girl. Of course you're good. You don't know that, she said firmly. You can't. I don't know either. The old daredevil wanted to challenge that, to refute it, but nothing came. I'm no good at this stuff, You need to see Gabbro. They ate a meal and rested close to the radio. In the morning, or whatever passes for morning on the Addle Rock, they got up early and Feldspar had Ponder refuel the ship. As Ponder disconnected the hose and hung it back up on the fuel pump, they came face to face with Feldspar. Ponder. Ponder stood at attention, braced for the worst. Feldspar watched their face closely. She tells me you passed my test. Ponder nodded. They'd hoped this moment would be more triumphant. They weren't sure where they stood with their mentor right now. You know you've done just about the stupidest thing you could have done, the old Hearthian put simply. Yes, sir. You also stood up for her, calmed her down, and brought her back. In a gentler tone, they said, Thank you. I'm on rapid response, so you're taking her to Gabbro. Ponder pointed to himself, surprised to be called on. Feldspar continued as if it was obvious. Last I heard, they're laying low on that island on Giant's Deep. Any luck, they'll have a campfire going. But Gabbro's not always easy to find. I expect you to try. Listen to your gut, listen to Chuck, but if you can't find him, bring her back here. Maybe one of the other travelers will call in and give us a lead. I'll take care of her, Ponder promised. Feldspar reached up and gave him a sincere handshake. I know you will. Take care of yourself, too.